Guys, welcome everybody. I want to point out that the restrooms right over there. I'm going to read this. It says woo, but I think what they meant was woo. We got a new report out. Oh man! Thank you, and all her students. Give it up for these guys. 1 o'clock. Give it up. Woo! If you're not clapping, you're doing something wrong. I just want to point out that this month, February 24th, at the Capitol, the Right to Rest bill will be there. I believe it's going to start at 1:30. Be there early. We'll probably be out front around 11 or so. So come on down, get up there, help us support this, please. It's really important. With that, I'm going to say it again. Thanks to you one more time. Thank you for Durham Law School. They rock. They came down. They were just totally into what we were doing. I'm going to turn this over. I'm supposed to do it. I'm going to turn this over to Natia right now. We got a little bit backwards.
Hey everybody, I'm Natia Moran, professor of practice of law at the University of Denver Stern College of Law. I had the great honor of teaching a group of really dedicated second and third year students that really took the time to delve into this issue. The issue came to us though through Denver Homeless Out Loud and Western Regional Advocacy Project. And the issue was this: what does it really cost Colorado to criminalize homelessness? And really it was an empirical question that we took, which is Colorado criminalizing homelessness? And so we took that as an empirical question, and what we do with good lawyers and researchers do, which is we collected data. It's not going to be nearly as fun as listening to the song we just did, but hopefully you guys will see sort of how we made our conclusions and why we think this is so important. So I'm here to introduce the students and to give you guys just an overview of what we're going to do today. It should last about a half an hour, and then we're going to leave lots of times for questions and answers. So let me introduce the students. So right now we have Ariel Schreiber. She's over there. Yay. We've got Allie Moore. We have Michael Lagarde. We have Becker Butler-Dines. We have Ellie Zweibel. We've got Kobe Webb. And so I'm going to introduce Allie Moore first. Allie's going to talk to us about the enactment of these ordinances and how we went about our research. Thanks.
Hello. So, like Professor Lance said, my name's Allie Moore. Can you hear me? I'm like this. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about how we discovered that Colorado cities were criminalizing homelessness. So the first thing that we did was we set out to find Colorado's anti-homeless ordinances, and this is at the city level, so municipal laws. What Ellie and Michael are holding up, maybe they're what Ellie and Michael are holding up is so these charts represent the 76 most populous cities in Colorado and their anti-homeless ordinances. So the way that we searched the city's municipal codes is we talked to members of Denver Homeless Out Loud. So, sorry, a little feedback.
We clearly do this a lot.
Okay. So we talked to members of Denver Homeless Out Loud about the kinds of things that police officers were telling them they couldn't do and the kinds of tickets that they were receiving. We also worked with the Western Regional Advocacy Project that has conducted similar research in California and in Washington, and we came up with a list of search terms that would help us find the laws that criminalize the activities associated with homelessness. So we decided that a law would qualify as anti-homeless if it met a certain criteria. So that criteria was that the law would have to first disproportionately affect people who are homeless, and it would either have to reflect an intent to target homeless people or restrict a necessary life activity. So hopefully I'm not blocking that, but a necessary life activity would mean something like urinating or defecating, sleeping, washing, things that you have to do just to be alive, and when people live outside, then laws that impact doing those things in public are going to affect them. So we came up with these criteria and a list of search terms, and we began to search every municipal code for the 76 biggest cities in Colorado. We turned up 351 ordinances that meet these criteria. So the next slide. So some of the most common types of ordinances that we found were restrictions on begging. Nearly every city has a law prohibiting public urination or defecation, and no cities have 24-hour publicly available restrooms. We also saw that laws prohibiting obstructing the sidewalk or laws prohibiting directly sitting or lying on the sidewalk were present in almost every jurisdiction. So if you check out our chart, and it works a lot better on the website, you can click through the links to read the text of each of these municipal ordinances, and you can see sort of they're categorized by the type of behavior that they prohibit. We saw a couple of trends as we opened and read every single one of these 351 ordinances, and we noticed that cities build momentum off one another. So when one city passes a camping ban, there would be records of other cities looking to that first camping ban and looking at that language and how it's implemented in the first city and deciding whether or not they want to expand that kind of law into their own city. There were a number of laws. One example is a law prohibiting loitering for the purpose of begging, which is just a ban on begging, and is almost certainly unconstitutional, as Ellie will talk about. Dozens of cities use the exact same language as one another in their municipal codes. So once one city decides to make a law, it sort of starts a trend, and it can spread the policy across Colorado, which is part of the reason we're talking about a state-level law with the right to rest. And then another thing that we noticed that was troubling about these codes is that there were a lot of ordinances that were either unclear or overlapped with one another. So for example, a city might have both a law prohibiting obstructing the sidewalk and a law prohibiting sitting or lying in public. So someone who is sitting in public could be obstructed both for, or could be cited, both for obstructing the sidewalk if they're sitting on the sidewalk, and could be cited for sitting in public. So this was sort of a common situation that we saw, which both makes it difficult for people because the police have discretion to choose which ordinance they would like to enforce against you, and it's also problematic for us looking for public records because we're not exactly sure how cities are using their ordinances when they have multiple ordinances that criminalize the same behavior. So you can read a little bit more about each of those findings in the report if you like, but I'm going to turn it over to Michael, who's going to talk about the citations that were written under these ordinances we identified.
So I unfortunately have more numbers than Allie to say, so excuse me if I have to look down to make sure I get everything right. So what we did once we had that list of 351 ordinances was to file, first we chose 23 cities of those 76. And these 23 cities were chosen based on geographic diversity, as well as population, or in some cases because they had a particularly high number of ordinances that criminalized homelessness. So based on those different factors, we chose 23 cities, which we felt were fairly representative of Colorado. These cities were in every region of the state and represented a significant chunk of the population of the state as well. So, once we've chosen those cities, we filed Colorado Open Records Act request with all of them. Colorado Open Records Act allows you to file a request with a local government or with the state for information. Specifically in these requests, we asked for things like the total number of citations under the entire municipal code, the total number of citations under the ordinances we identified as being anti-homeless, as well as information under both of those, how many citations were going to homeless individuals. So both for the total code, all citations to homeless individuals, as well as citations to homeless individuals under the ordinances that we had identified for each municipality. We sent those record requests off, and we usually had to send two different ones, both to the police department and to the municipal court in the area. And we got back a wide range of information. Some cities were able to provide us with a lot of information. Other cities had a hard time providing any. And one of the things that complicated our report was that the majority of the 23 cities we sent requests to either did not have accessible records on homeless individuals or did not provide it because they didn't track it in an easy way. So they might note on the police ticket, for instance, that they're homeless, but there's no database that tracks that. So the only way we could have gotten information was for them to go back and check every single ordinance, which was time and cost prohibitive. So the important reason to point that out is that, once again, it makes our count under-inclusive. There are two main reasons for this. The first, like I said, is it doesn't necessarily capture every single homeless individual because not every city responded with that information. Two, these are self-identified homeless individuals. So if the person identified as homeless, that was counted. If they gave the address of a local shelter or a mailbox that they might have at the post office, that would not show up as a homeless individual. The third reason this is under-inclusive of the actual enforcement is that no city that we contacted was able to provide us with move-on orders. So there's a difference between citations when the police actually give you an infraction. Sorry, is this better?
You can lift that up.
There we go. That's better. So the third way that it's under-inclusive. The third way that it's under-inclusive is that it does not track move-on orders. No city that we requested information from was able to provide information when police had contact and then said, you are in violation of this law, you need to stop your activities or move to a different location. We weren't able to collect any of that information, and that happens anecdotally, from what we can tell, far more often than actual citations, which is the information that we were able to record. So all that is important to say, the numbers that we are able to give you are almost certainly under-inclusive for a lot of reasons. So here's what the information we have actually showed. The first is quite simply that many cities issue a disproportionate number of citations to homeless individuals under their ordinances. So the three cities we highlighted that had the most that we noticed were Grand Junction, Fort Collins, and Boulder. Now these are the percent of citations to homeless individuals under their entire municipal code. In all these cities, homeless people make up a small fraction of the total population, and yet you can see of the actual citations that are being heard under the municipal code, they make up a large percentage. So that's the first thing that we noticed. This is uniform across most of the cities that gives information on homelessness. Go to the next slide. The other issue, I want to point out some specific examples that are particularly stark. One of the worst examples of this is in Boulder with their camping ban. In Boulder, there was a total of 1,767 citations under the camping ban from 2010 to 2014. Now, this is stark both in the absolute terms, because the next closest city was Fort Collins, which issued 861 citations over that same 5-year period. So they're enforcing their camping ban at a much higher rate. But we also know that the majority of these citations are going to homeless individuals. The graph on, I guess, your left shows that 87% of these citations went to homeless individuals. So we can see that this particular camping ban is being enforced very heavily in Boulder, and is overwhelmingly going to individuals who are homeless. So this is one way that enforcement of these local municipal codes are impacting homeless individuals. The next thing, I want to focus a little bit on Denver to give you an idea of what's going on locally here. So if we can go to the next. So this might be a little bit hard to see. There's a lot of information. But the main points I wanted to make about this is that, first of all, we found 11 homeless ordinances. These are just 4 of them. And I chose these 4 to highlight to you because they have over 200 citations per year. And in 2014, half of those citations were going to homeless individuals. So the first you can look at is panhandling, where a total of 82% of the tickets issued in Denver in 2014 went to homeless individuals. When you look at urinating in public in 2014, 49% of them, almost 50%, went to homeless individuals. When you look at park curfews and closures, 60% of those went to homeless individuals. And perhaps one of the most interesting and alarming things that we found in the study when we looked at Denver was that 53%, almost 54% of trespass citations went to homeless individuals. Now the reason that is particularly interesting is that